everybody, it's Katie, and this is going to be the 5 things I'd tell my pregnant self, my formerly pregnant self, not pregnant now. I've had 2 viable pregnancies in my life, one of which gave me my daughter, who is now 3 years old, and the other gave me my son, who is 9 months old. And I absolutely treasured my pregnancies. I think that it was probably the most special time of my whole life, both of those times, and really, I mean, not to say that it's not challenging, that, you know, that there weren't days when I was uncomfortable or stressed out or whatever, but I mean, overall, it's a time that I absolutely just hold so dear. At this point in my life, I don't really know if we're going to have more children, if I'll ever get to experience being pregnant again. So I find myself really at this point in my life, like, thinking back to my pregnancies and just, you know, just reflecting and thinking of what I feel like I did really well, and things, of course, that I wish I would change. So these thoughts are always sort of in the front of my mind, and finally I'm just going to put them all out there. Most people, I think, most mom vloggers have already done this tag a long time ago, but anyway. So my first thing, I think almost everybody says this, but I would splurge a little bit more. Most people mention, like, you know, getting a massage, getting a pedicure, or something like that. With my pregnancies, both times, you know, my family's always been on a pretty tight budget, and so I've really like scrimped, and I've really been super aware of every dollar, especially during that time. And you know, that was just our reality. So it's true that we didn't have a whole lot of extra money to throw around on massages or whatever. But I mean, could we have found you know, an extra $50 to get a massage that would have made me feel really so much more comfortable for, you know, the last couple of weeks of my pregnancy? Yeah, I think we could have worked that out. Could I have spent a little bit more money on maternity clothes that really made me feel good, that I really felt comfortable in, and that, looking back, you know, I feel like I looked good in? Yeah, that would have been really nice. And especially if I had done it the first time, then I would have had those clothes the second time to, you know, to enjoy and feel good in. As it was, I got a lot of stuff at, like, thrift stores, and I just wore a lot of things that I didn't feel good in, and looking back now, I don't like how I look in those pictures and stuff. Speaking of pictures, my number 2 thing is that I really didn't take enough pictures, or good pictures, or the kind of pictures that I wanted to take. We didn't have, like, a very good quality camera, and we didn't really have the budget to get professional maternity photos taken. During my first pregnancy, our friends threw us a baby shower, and a bunch of them got together and did actually gift us, like, a photo package. But rather than using it for maternity photos, we decided to save it and use it for portraits. We ended up using, like, for Christmas cards and Christmas gifts when Alice was 5 months old. So we saved it till the baby was here, and then had, like, family portraits done and just some pictures of her. I don't regret doing that, because I think it's really important that we have those pictures. But, you know, I had ideas for photos that just sort of never got taken. And of course, the difference between my first and my second pregnancies is huge. My first pregnancy, I honestly did take like a belly progression shot, you know, every week in the same position, in the same outfit, and I have, like, a slideshow of you know, watching, like, my belly grow all 40 weeks, and I, you know, piece it all together, and I kind of have that document. But with my second pregnancy, I intended to take photos again every week, and, you know, I took probably one every 3 weeks or so. Sometimes I just wasn't feeling up to it, or we just had too many other things going on, and I didn't make it a priority, so I do sort of regret that. Looking back, I honestly don't think I have a single photo from either pregnancy where I was, like, late in the pregnancy and looking very pregnant, and you know, that I feel like I look beautiful, and that I feel like captures how I really felt about the pregnancy. I wish we would have borrowed a friend's really nice camera, or, you know, asked around and gotten somebody who maybe could have just taken a few shots, something that we would really love, that I would really have to look back on. My third thing applies mostly to my first pregnancy, and it might seem a little bit weird, but it's actually to envision the worst case scenario. With my first pregnancy, I was very much focused on being in a positive mindset, in envisioning the ideal kind of birth that I wanted to have, and, you know, doing what I thought would kind of set me up for that. I think a lot of times, especially first-time moms, tend to like over worry and stress out about every little thing and you know, just be too concerned maybe with things going wrong and problems coming up and every little detail. And I really deep down had like the opposite kind of reaction. I just didn't even let myself like imagine anything beyond my ideal. It's really important to keep yourself in that positive frame of mind. But in my first pregnancy, I really did that at the expense of finding out what happens when things don't go as planned or when things do go wrong. I don't know if it was overconfidence or what, but I sort of blocked out anything anything I perceived as negative. So when my midwife talked to me about possibly needing Pitocin in my labor, I would just think, it would sort of go in one ear and out the other ear, because I would think, oh, I'm not going to need that. Like, I got this. I know that's not going to happen to me, and I was wrong. We also didn't really ask the right questions beforehand about what happens if there are complications with the baby, like what the hospital procedures are like, and the whole NICU experience, you know, what that would be like in that case, and that for us in our first pregnancy, our first birth, that sort of worst case scenario came true, and we definitely weren't prepared for it because it just wasn't even a conversation that we really had. So that's definitely something I would change. Number 4 is also along the lines of being self-sufficient / stubborn. I would tell myself to accept help. During our first pregnancy, we had a lot of offers of help from family and friends, which was wonderful. But at that point, I felt very protective of our space, and sort of was very concerned with feathering my nest and having everything the way I wanted it. And, you know, I was concerned about sort of people intruding on that kind of space. Both my mother-in-law and my mom wanted to like do a lot of cooking, and I just had it in my head that this was something I was going to do during my pregnancy. I was going to cook food for my family. I was going to put stuff in the freezer. I was going to like be super mom. I think I turned down a lot of help that I was offered, and I think that I didn't let the people who did help me know how much I appreciated it. I think I didn't thank them enough. Oh, Katie. The second pregnancy, I was like, please help me. Like, come on in, cavalry. Like, where are all my people? And of course, things were different. It was 2.5 years later. You know, my mother-in-law wasn't well enough anymore to come into town and help cook, and I wish more than anything that I could have had that. I wish I could have had that time with her. It just took me so long to like learn that lesson and just learn how to accept the help. And then, like I said, the second time around, there isn't quite as much help at the ready as there is the first time, because people are just like a little bit less excited, or they think that you've got a little bit more under control, which may or may not be true. The 5th thing I would tell my pregnant self is to take as much couple time as humanly possible, both back when we were just us, just a couple, and also when we were a family of 3 and we could, you know, leave our daughter with a babysitter and still get away a little bit. I had no idea how much I would miss that. I would miss just that freedom, that spontaneity. August is now 9 months old, and Mike and I have not had a proper date since before he was born. Just given our situation with not having family nearby, not having a babysitter we can really trust, and some of the sleep issues he's had, we just aren't able to leave both kids with the same person, whatever. We've had 2 dates that do not qualify in any way as real dates. One was literally the 2 of us going to Walgreens without kids, and the other was just slipping away for about an hour on our own when we were out visiting my sister a few weeks ago. Our 5th wedding anniversary is next month, and we are probably going to be celebrating with the children. So if I could go back to before we had kids, I would say take all the trips you want to take, just make it happen. Or if I could go back to before my son was born, I would say get the babysitter for Alice. It's not that big of a deal. Just go have dinner, go see a movie, go do whatever you want to do together, because it's just going to be so much harder to find that time together when it's even more important, you know? So that is what I would tell my pregnant self. What about you? I know lots and lots of people have already made this video, so I won't tag anyone in particular, but if you'd like to make a video, or if you'd like to leave me a comment, tell me your 5 things. I can just continue to add them to my list of the things. I could probably come up with 20 things that I would tell my more naive and more selfish and silly pregnant self. Despite all those things I do differently, somehow my pregnancies still feel like the best time of my life. It's amazing how that works. Thanks for watching, guys.